Bobby Bowden, he and Joe Paterno in my books are the two all-time greatest guys I've watched coach sort of during my era of college football. So, yeah, he was a tremendous person, strong Christian man, and everybody certainly respects him.
Great story. I know I speak for everybody. I'm so happy that you two got to speak that recently, and had a nice conversation, it sounds like.
Yeah, we've and we were both involved in the Rising Stars, Florida's Rising Stars, which is that charity, to help underprivileged kids go to college, give them a chance to be successful in life. They don't have to be superstars and get a scholarship for sports, but academics and being a part of the Florida Rising Stars. So Coach Bowden and I pitched in and hopefully help raise some money for that cause.
Awesome. We've got a couple people checking in, including Rebecca Jarbo, Seminole fan. She mentioned some of those that game you referenced, and that was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Shane, obviously coming out of Pascagoula, Mississippi, you were at a powerhouse high school program coached by your father. Your program, high school program, sent a bunch of D1 players, including yourself, all over. But there was a bit of a pipeline to Florida State. Pick up high school days, Florida State, recruiting that area, maybe some contact you had with Coach Bowden.
Yeah, we, I grew up going to the Ole Miss football camps, and then once I got to 10th and 11th grade, we somehow, Mickey Andrews was recruiting that area, and I don't know if he'd heard about me, it was probably more Terrell Buckley.
Sure.
So we ended up taking about 10 of us going to the Florida State football camp, and I think they did that like every year. And I ended up coming to Florida, but Terrell Buckley, Kez McCorvey, and Mario Edwards, all three from my high school, ended up going to FSU, and they're all in the Hall of Fame.
How about that talent on that high school? No wonder FSU was in that.
Well, Mario wasn't on our team.
Okay, in the area. Okay.
But I was a senior, Terrell was a junior, and Kez was a sophomore on our state championship team.
That is something. I know you mentioned earlier, I don't know if we were on the air, but Coach Bowden had a kind of a lean-on speech kind of thing when he'd see somebody, buddy. Everybody was his buddy. And I know I'm bad about if I don't know somebody's name. Hey, guy, how you doing, guy? Good. Coach Bowden, how you doing there, buddy? He would use that on all the media guys, too. He would recognize your face, but he's seen so many media guys, but he would slap you on the shoulder. He'd slap me on the shoulder, didn't know me from Adam, really, but recognized the face. Hey, buddy, how you doing? How you doing there, buddy? And made you feel good. Let's go back. Coach Bowden, his first several decades as a head coach at Florida State, very hands-on. I mean, I'll never forget, FSU goes to back-to-back Orange Bowls in 79 and 80. So it's very early in his career. 79 and 80, they lose both games to really good Oklahoma teams. One was by 1 point, one was by a couple touchdowns. NBC would always do the Orange Bowl back then. They talked Coach Bowden, and he agreed. They wired Coach Bowden up for one of those games, either 79 or 80. And I'm watching the game. They wired him up. And Coach Spurrier, he's got the headset on. They've got him wired the whole game. That particular year, their offensive terminology was they used automobiles as part of their terminology. So they had Bowden wired up, and he's calling plays and talking to the guys and so involved. He was Cadillac right. XYZ, he was calling those plays, and he was a very innovative play caller, as you were saying, and he called a lot of his plays, in 25 seconds, send those plays in.
Yeah, back in his early days of coaching, he was an offensive coach and called it, and then later on sort of coached the coaches, which is the way a lot of them do it today. Yeah.
But his terminology back then was automobiles. It was Cadillac this or Chevy that. I don't know. Y'all know that more, but he was Cadillac right, and it was all wired up, and it was just fascinating stuff to see. He was so hands-on, and obviously later in his career, guys, and we're just bouncing around, through necessity. You remember, it might have been their first year in the ACC. They're playing at Georgia Tech, and Georgia Tech's handling them pretty good. And the game's getting late, and they're down a couple scores. And they got this first-year quarterback. He's a junior by the name of Charlie Ward, and their offense is not moving. They go, hurry up. In that game, in the fourth quarter, and the fast break offense was born. And it worked for 2 years, and boy, could Charlie run that offense.
Charlie was one of the great ones of all time there. Wonderful guy. He and Warwick Dunn, another All-American and so forth. And, of course, Charlie won the Heisman So those two were fantastic, no question about it.
Yeah, you remember that though? It was the fast break offense was born out of necessity. They were getting their butts beat in Atlanta, starting the fourth quarter, and they had nothing working on offense. Charlie it was like his second game as a starter, his junior year, and they said, "We're down 2 or 3 scores. We got to go fast," and the fast break offense was born under Coach Bowden.
It would be interesting if Charlie were playing nowadays. Would he have chosen football? Because, back when he came out, they wanted the 6'4", 6'5", 230-pound pocket passer. Now, more pro quarterbacks are that dual threat and run around and make plays, and boy, was he good.
He was something. He really was. But boy, Coach Bowden, sometimes you got to make a tough call, and that was on the fly in the fourth quarter, and off they went. They said, "We got to go. We need to score 3 times." They were not huddling. Charlie was running to the line and motioning, and off they went. Coach Spurrier, you obviously, among a million things you've done in and around the Florida program, you kind of coined the phrase of the swamp, right? You came out with the swamp. I don't know if a lot of people know the story of Renegade and Osceola. Coach Bowden pretty much developed that. The story goes, here's the story. Early in Coach's career, first or second year at Florida State, they're playing at San Diego State. Okay, so they're coming back from that game, and the word is that Coach Bowden on the plane gets one of the SID guys and says, "Let's talk a little bit." So they're playing at San Diego State. Remember, they're the Aztecs. So San Diego State, they have a horse and a Aztec warrior. So the story is, coming back from San Diego State, Coach Bowden says, "We need something like that." And damn if Osceola and Renegade wasn't born. Interesting. But he had a hand in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that was certainly their specialty.
And it's iconic now.
Their trademark, yeah. The horse and the Seminole Indian. Yeah, that's their deal.
Real iconic. Coach Spurrier, and then Shane, speaking of Coach Bowden, he had a knack, particularly the first couple, 2 or 3 decades, and getting Florida State on the map. He had a knack for when to call a gadget play, a trick play, the punt rooski and stuff like that. Or you'd look up and there'd be a double reverse pass. He had a real knack for that early in his career, didn't he, Coach Bowden?
Yeah, he did. He was not afraid to try his little gadget or trick play, whatever you want to call it. And he was one of the first to do that, probably.
Yeah, really did. And he was something. 91 years old. By the way, and you can find it online. We don't have it here, but it's online. It's very public. A couple of the services are out. He'll have a couple different services. At least one of the big services will be open to the public there in Tallahassee. So that's all online. I saw it over the weekend. It's all been released by the university. So if you so choose, I know, being a little selfish, but we're so excited. I know Spurrier's Gridiron Grill is opening, debuting on Wednesday. What a shame that Coach Bowden and his wife couldn't come over and have a meal. What a shame that it didn't time out, that they could come into Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and have a meal. I thought of that over the weekend. That would have been something.
Well, it's it was nice of everything Coach Bowden did. I think in these last couple of weeks, he got a chance to talk to everybody that was his buddy, as he said, I think, through the last 40, 50 years, whatever. But yeah, he's got the records that will never be broken as far as a coach at one place at FSU. Coaches can't stay hardly 10 years anywhere now. And he got, 42 or so, I'm not sure.
Time.
It was quite a wonderful record he had there.
We talked about the offense that evolved with his personnel into a fast break there for that little bit. But boy, Shane first, Coach Bowden, those 80s teams, FSU 80s teams, they were heavy, that play action. Boy, they'd fake that run. The quarterback would take his steps and plant. But they were a big play action team there for a while in the 80s. I think he was more pro style looking early in his career at Florida State.
I think they were very similar to us in the 80s and in the 90s. I don't think they went shotgun until Charlie played.
Yeah, I think
I don't think Coach went shotgun until after the Nebraska game.
Yeah, that's right.
So, they were a lot of I formation, play action passes.
Yeah, they were that hard play action, weren't they? And I think they got back to it when, like, Winky came in a little bit after Charlie. So the fast break didn't fit every quarterback, so they went back to it a little bit, didn't they?
They did, but he still played out of the shotgun quite a bit.
Shotgun a lot, yeah. Definitely. We got Ted says, and he's a Seminole fan here. He said, Coach Bowden freely admitted he got Emory and Henry from Spurrier when they used it on Michigan in '91. I remember that game. They went up to Michigan, and I think Buckley picked off like the first pass of the game for a touchdown. But I don't remember FSU using Emory and Henry.
Yeah,
but Ted's a big FSU fan, so he followed it. So, Coach, you've told that story, Emory and Henry. Tell that story again. Where did that come from? And it was a former coach.
Well, there's a school called Emory
and Henry. Yeah, sure.
And they were playing
ran it.
Tennessee Wesleyan. I guess I was about 6 years old or 7. And my dad took us to the Tennessee Wesleyan Emory and Henry game, and they had that funky formation. 4 guys here and 4 there, and 4-3-3. Added up somehow, it comes to 11. But anyway, it's 5 and 3-3.
Sure.
There it is. And I remember watching it, and then I got into coaching, and I said, well, it's different. Let's put it in about once a year, one or two games a year, and it makes the defense sort of look at each other. What do we do now? So they have to pretty much spread out with you, and so we'd use it maybe one game a year, something like that. Emory and Henry.
Is it true when you put in a play like that, you kind of need to alert the officials before the game so they don't blow a quick whistle and they may get shocked and kill the play? Because if you show it one time, right, it's out there.
The Alliance of American Football, we put it in and ran it one day, and
you're legal from that league, right?
But the referees didn't know it. We throw a little quick screen out there. Our 2 linemen, they just stand there like that and went around tackling him for about 3-yard loss. I said, dang, that wasn't very smart. And then later the referee said, by the way, that formation's illegal in pro football. It was. The tackle has to be next to the guard.
Yeah, well, pro football you can't have an unbalanced line. You can't do any of this.
Really? I didn't know that. So
the tackle and guard had to be next to each other was what one of them said. But referees didn't know it.
Even if they're on the line, they can't be spread out. Why?
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
That's pro rule.
But you got by that night though.
Yeah.
You got by.
Yeah, we lost 3 yards on the play. So it doesn't always work.
Coach, we can't get into a lot of detail, but you and I are working on a project, and we were talking with Coach Phil Fulmer several weeks ago, and the talk got to be, boy, in the 90s, even if there was just a 4-team playoff, Tennessee and Florida might have played a couple times a year. Florida State and Florida got together twice through happenstance. Got together twice in a season in the bowl games. But think about if there was a playoff, Florida State might have got together several times in the 90s in the playoff and played a second time.
Well, if we didn't play them and they didn't play us, then there would have been one more win for them, one more win for us if it was just another out-of-conference game.
Sure.
But since they were, like you said, top 4 in the nation, 11 of the 12 years I was here, it was a tough game. And they beat us more than we beat them that last game. Fortunately, we won the one in the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah.
But, they're very good. They had good players all over the place, well coached, ready to play, and all that. So it was a big game between us, and we're trying to play just for the state championship against them.
And both of you guys, you remember when Coach Bowden was at Florida State, really trying to get Florida State on the map, and he was famous for taking Florida State, even if he had to play 2 at their place and 1 at Florida State, or no return game. But I know he had that 5-game run where he played LSU and Nebraska and Pitt and Notre Dame. That was probably the way he had to go about it, right? He really had to get FSU put on the map, and it worked.
Yeah, well, FSU was independent all the way till they joined the ACC. So he needed to go play some of the big guys and go to their stadium and maybe upset them to let people know about Florida State. Now, another way to do it, Kansas State, Bill Snyder, what he did, his out-of-conference games, he found 4 teams he could win. And all of a sudden, Kansas State's winning 7 games a year, 6, and that was unbelievable because they usually won 1 or 2. So that's the 2 ways to go about trying to build your program. But since FSU was independent, they had to go play the big guys.
Yeah.
And go from there. That's what he did. And now they started recruiting the best of the best. they were always in the top 5 recruiting every year I was here.
I think what got them going in recruiting was when they had that Burt Reynolds Hall, that athletic dorm.
Remember that? Yep.
Because nobody had that.
Yep. Yep.
They were like the only school that had it, and it was a really nice athletic dorm.
It was interesting the way they recruited as well. Boy, Florida State back then, when they really started getting hot, they could go into inner city Miami and get a Miami kid, and then of course they could get a good old deep South Georgia kid as well. They really could go get that big city inner city kid or that good old country boy kid, and really got boy, they were a recruiting machine. SEC, we're all in realignment and expansion, and the SEC has gone through, this will be the third, I guess, 92, right? They bring in Arkansas. When you guys were around, Arkansas, South Carolina, Missouri, A&M, and then obviously Oklahoma, Texas. Way back when the SEC first expanded in 92, the most recent time after about 50 years, there was talk. Did you guys think FSU might make it into the SEC back then? Did you have much of a hand on the pulse? You know, there was a lot of talk that FSU might, and the SEC might have talked a little bit, and FSU might have turned it down some. But did you think, Coach or Shane, that FSU might pop up in the SEC back when the 92 expansion happened?
I don't really know.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard anybody say that they were offered or were not offered. But I think at some point, Bobby Bowden or some of them may have said they preferred the ACC.
Agreed. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He knew if I go play those guys, we're going to win 10 games every. Because he had Miami and us on the schedule every year.
Yes.
And I remember he said one time when they, on my gravestone, at least he played Florida and Miami.
Yes.
Because that was, if they eliminated just one of the two, then obviously they'd been playing the national championship game almost every year.
Sure.
You know what, Shane? Because they lost all those one-pointers to Miami and so forth.
Yeah.
They would have had a lot more national championships.
So Coach Spurrier hit it. It was almost like Coach Bowden kind of nixed it, Shane, way back in the early 90s. And the theory was, hey, the path of least resistance says stay away from the SEC. Now, I know nowadays FSU might want to get it. The money is just so big now, and the security blanket of being in the SEC and that check you get, even if you win 7 games. But, yeah, I think that's where it was. I think Coach Bowden probably nixed that pretty and he had veto power probably. It was Bobby Bowden and had built Florida State.
Well, I think it's no different than you think back to the Big 8 or whatever they're called, the Big 12 now. You know, if there wasn't so much money involved, why would an Oklahoma team want to lose when they're dominating that conference every year?
Sure.
And that's kind of how FSU was. Now, they haven't really dominated the ACC in quite some time.
Quite a while. Well, guys, we just wanted to open it up. Coach, we'll let you get about your business. Really wanted to, everybody wanted to hear both of you guys what you had to say about Coach and Coach Bowden, and certainly I'm sure his name will be brought up all football season long, as it should, right? I mean, he was an icon.
Yeah, he was a legend. There's no question about it. To coach that many years, I doubt if anyone will ever coach close to that many years.
No, not at all. Not in modern time, I don't think at all. Before we get you out of here, Coach, Wednesday, 2 days from now, the opening of Spurrier.
Yeah, the Gridiron Grill officially opens Wednesday afternoon and night, open for business. The ribbon cutting is tomorrow at 9:30, right there.
Nice. At
Celebration Point. It's a restaurant outside there, so we'll have a little formal ribbon cutting and go from there.
It's exciting time. I know it's been a dream of yours and a lot of people, and a lot of hardworking people, and it's coming to fruition. And it's go time. Wednesday it opens to the general public. Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We're going to keep Shane around for a few minutes. We got some topics we want to hit. We'll continue talking about Coach Bobby Bowden and reading your comments as well, but some other things going on in and around the world of college sports and college football. That comes up on the other side. It is College Sports Today.
The good vibes. What? All the good vibes we've had, we'll have again. All the good vibes we've had, we'll have again. All the good vibes we've had, we'll have again. All the good vibes we've had, we'll have again.
Taste the islands and every drop of Vida de Luis tequila. 100% blue agave from Tequila, Mexico. Good vibes.
All the good vibes we've had, we'll have again. All the good vibes we've had, we'll have again.
It's time to thank the sponsors that make college sports today with Spurrier, Matthews, and Norvell possible. Vida de Luis Tequila, the official tequila of college sports today. Make sure you ask for Vida de Luis Tequila by name in your favorite bars and restaurants throughout the state of Florida. And of course, with your next margarita inside Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Safe Harbor Seafood Mayport, Safe Harbor Seafood Crescent Beach, and Sliders Oyster Bar Neptune Beach. The official seafood restaurants of college sports today with Spurrier, Matthews, and Norvell can be found up and down the Northeast Florida coast. Safe Harbor Seafood Mayport, Safe Harbor Seafood Crescent Beach, and Sliders Oyster Bar Neptune Beach. The proud seafood sponsors of college sports today with Spurrier, Matthews, and Norvell. J.B. Coxwell Contracting, established in 1983 and offering complete site development. Go with the company generally considered the most well-respected heavy civil construction firm in Northeast Florida. Go with J.B. Coxwell Construction. For advertising information to get your business on college sports today with Spurrier, Matthews, and Norvell, simply shoot me an email, tnsportsjacks@yahoo.com. Again, shoot me, Terry Norvell, an email, and I'll get back with you. That email address again, tnsportsjacks@yahoo.com.
I'll tell you one thing that made my heart feel good, and I hope it did the same for you as we let Coach Spurrier go. He's very, very busy, but we're back here on College Sports Today on a Monday. Shane Matthews, Terry Norvell. Wow, Coach Spurrier right out of the gate said he had a very recent phone conversation with Coach Bowden before Coach Bowden passed. Well, that made me feel good. Didn't it make you feel good just to hear that?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That was something. Feel free to keep your comments coming in here as we're looking back at the great career, life and career of Bobby Bowden, who passed over the weekend at 91. Obviously, Shane, death is finite, and it still is shocking, even though we kind of had a heads up. We all kind of knew, particularly, what was it, Thursday, Terry Bowden, who just accepted the job several months ago, the head football job at Louisiana Monroe. He got called home to Tallahassee Thursday, which was like their first day of camp. Mm-hmm. And you knew that I just dotting I's and crossing T's. I thought, I don't know if Coach will make it through the weekend. And you kind of knew it was fairly dire at that point. A couple more things we want to talk about Coach Bowden, and just some good, bad in between. He had some great quotes, and you probably remember them, Shane, if you've got any, bring them. And I'll paraphrase a couple of them. I thought his halo quote was hilarious. Remember that years ago? They got talking about, and Coach Bowden, how perception can change, and they love you today and they hate you tomorrow. He said, yeah, that halo, when you're winning and doing good, they love you. You drop that thing 6 inches, it becomes a noose. That's a great quote.
That is. I had one here that I think Bianchi posted that I thought was pretty damn funny. And he said, that boy don't know the meaning of the word fear. In fact, I just saw his grades, and that boy don't know the meaning of a lot of words.
That's about one of his players?
Yeah.
He didn't say who they did.
No.
Oh, that's great. Doesn't know the word of fear, meaning of fear. Saw his grades. He doesn't know the meaning of a lot of words.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. Coach Bowden, this was 2 decades ago, but this was a quote, and again, we're paraphrasing some great Bowden quotes. This was a quote about the big money of college football now. And this was a couple decades ago, but Bowden was asked about TV and how TV is kind of running the show in college football. He says, yeah, you can say that. They call me now and they say, Coach, we want you to play your game at 2 o'clock. He says, I say AM or PM? About how the TV boys are running it. Certainly this was one that Coach Spurrier would have a comment. We just didn't have time. I wanted to get Coach out of here. And you remember the famous Bowden paraphrased quote about the late hits. We played to the echo of the whistle. And, that was a cute Bowdenism, but it got his point across, too. Hey, you know what? We played to the echo of the whistle. You remember that? Mm-hmm. And all all that controversy. And I can't remember how it was phrased, but there was a point where, and certainly everybody knows Florida State football history, wide right, the missed field goal cost them dearly over the career of Bobby Bowden. At times, they go out and get the best kicker in the world, Sebastian Janikowski. I think he won the Groza back-to-back years at FSU. He was a great kicker. He was a free spirit, though. One of their big games was coming up. Remember, Janikowski got in some legal trouble. Might have got arrested or a citation or something. And the big question was, you know, are you going to suspend him? Are you going to suspend him? He says something. Bowden says something to the effect of, well, no, he's going to play because, you know, he's a foreigner and he's under international rules. We've got him under international rules, and he played. and he played. Shane Matthews here, Terry Norvell looking back at the life of Coach Bowden. A few more moments. Shane, by the way, we are only a couple weeks away. Our picks contest will start up again on, I think we're going to get it going Friday, August 27th, going into the 28th, and we'll have a bunch of games. Our Safe Harbor Seafood Picks that was a blast last year.
Mm-hmm.
I had always heard how competitive Coach Spurrier is. My God.
He lost.
My God.
And he lost.
Yes. Who won? I won that, didn't I?
Yeah.
Did I win that? Yeah. Yeah. But that comes up. We want to thank our good friends. You saw a bunch of our sponsors and could see them over our shoulder. All of our great sponsors: Safe Harbor Seafood, Crescent Beach, Safe Harbor Seafood, of course, Mayport, Sliders Oyster Bar, JB Coxwell Contracting. All of our great sponsors. We appreciate those folks getting involved in our show, and our Safe Harbor Seafood picks of the week will start a couple Fridays from now. Coach Bowden, you can't coach as long as he did. You can't live as long as he did without having some negativity creep in, and some people think you do stuff a little sideways. A couple things, really. Some people thought Coach Bowden was light on discipline. I don't think that's anything that I'm sharing that nobody knows. Another area that Coach Bowden, he did it out of love, but boy, a low mark in his coaching career at Florida State when he promoted his son, Jeff Bowden, to offensive coordinator. And no disrespect to Coach Bobby Bowden, but Jeff had no business coordinating a Power 5 major offense. That was kind of ugly. If you remember how that played out, they had to skirt the nepotism law, and they had to have Jeff answer for someone else in athletics because of the nepotism. But you remember that? Jeff Bowden just wasn't cut out to be an offensive coordinator at a major school like Florida State.
No, it didn't work out very well.
No, it didn't work out too well. What'd you think when you saw him, if you were live or playing and couldn't watch? What'd you think when you saw the probably the most famous Bowden gadget play was the punt Ruski against Clemson? What'd you think?
Yeah, that was, gosh, I don't know if I was in college yet or if I was still in high school. It was Leroy Butler, right?
Butler got
the
ball.
I had Peter Tom Willis on my show today talking about Coach Bowden, and I brought that play up because I think that's maybe the most famous play in his coaching career.
I would think so.
Because they were backed up. That's what Peter Tom was saying. And he was also saying that when they were practicing it in practice, you know, because usually the quarterbacks sit around during special teams and you're doing more mental stuff. He said they all said, this has no chance of working.
Really?
He goes, I sure hope he doesn't call it.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, wet day at Clemson. Wet, soggy day. And was the game, I can't remember, was the game tied at the time?
They may have been behind. I don't really remember.
Yeah. And but as you said, it wasn't at midfield or across. It was deep in their own territory, which is perfect. And who was it? Bino Cook. Remember what Bino Cook? He had the great line. I'm paraphrasing. He said that was, Bino Cook talking like this is Bino Cook. He said that was the greatest play since My Fair Lady. Which was a great line.
Yeah.
But, I mean, what a gutsy call. And again, I think you have to go and tell, as we were talking with Coach Spurrier, you have to let those referees know and describe that play. Because the worst thing in the world is pull that play and you surprise the referees and they blow a whistle. Same thing in baseball. I know when you've got maybe some gadget, a gadget pickoff play or two, you better go tell that umpire. Because the last thing you want, you can only show it one time. If inadvertent whistle, do it again, well, the play's gone.
What's the greatest gadget play in baseball? Wichita State?
Yes. The Wichita State Miami Hurricane pickoff play.
Yeah.
And you have, and there's not a lot of gadget plays that you can plug, but I know the Miami coaching staff had to let the umpires know, because the last thing you want them to do is, and then the play's ruined. They're going to say, look, man, we might have a situation where our pitcher is going to quickly step off, meaning he can full-arm fake. You can't full-arm fake to first base. It's a ball, right? You can't fake a throw to first unless you step off real quick and then you're an infielder. But you got to tell this boy he's going to step off, full-arm fake. He's never going to let the ball go.
But he didn't have the ball. Didn't the first baseman have the ball?
Say that again?
Didn't the first baseman have the ball?
No, they faked the throw.
Right, but I thought
first baseman dives over the runner.
That's what it is, yeah.
The Miami, by the way, it worked out so perfect. First base line was Miami's. The ball girls were in on it. The Miami ball girls, they scatter. It was the leading steals guy in the nation. He had 86 steals. So, first base coach, the runner, they see the first baseman running to foul territory. They see the Miami bullpen scatter because they fake ball. They see the Miami ball girls scatter. The guy that's a rabbit on first base takes off to second. The pitcher, who has stepped off, tosses it to the shortstop or second baseman.
Yep.
But you got to tell the umpires, the officials, the umpires, so they don't kill the play, because then it's out.
And we haven't seen it since.
Yeah.
Nobody tries it.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. But Coach Bowden, boy, he had a knack for calling those gadget plays, didn't he? They were fun. They were fun. With FSU, obviously, they got to be great. They were really fun in the 80s, the early 80s, when they were becoming great, because they still needed a gadget player or two, right? They were a lot of fun. So they have real quick some stuff in college football. Good Lord, Shane. The minute I picked my Final Four, my college football playoff Final Four, A&M now has a player suspended.
They do?
A big defensive lineman, pretty decent player.
What do you do?
I got in some trouble. USC, two of my teams have got players. This is that hold your breath season. Did you see where, and maybe you know a little bit more, Scott Cochran has stepped away from his special teams job at Georgia. He was the former strength and conditioning guy for Alabama. He stepped away. Sounds like maybe some medical stuff going on. And Will Muschamp's been evaluated. Is that elevated up?
Yeah, Muschamp's on the field now, and it had something to mental health or just health issues.
But Kirby is making it sound like Scott Cochran might come back, but Will Muschamp, who was an analyst, I guess, Will Muschamp will assume the Georgia special teams duties. So something's going on with Scott Cochran, and yeah, you mentioned Kirby. I think he said something about mental health. He's trying to get his mental health in order. I thought here, as we get out of here, Shane, we'll get out of here a little earlier. Wanted this to be pretty much a Bobby Bowden show. Thoughts, though. The last time we were on the air, we got talking about Pac-12, Big 12. Do they merge? And, man, you look at the Big 12, what's left, when you pull Oklahoma and Texas out, it's not much. It is not much at all. Along those lines, stay with me, just a thought. Big 12 is devastated. You take two of the big boys out of the Big 12, they're devastated. Shane, your thought, the big, bad, powerful SEC. If we took any two out of the SEC, I don't think it would be devastated. Do you? If we took today, if you just said for happenstance, let's pull Alabama and Georgia out, it's not anywhere near as devastated as, right?
Huh.
Could it sustain?
Yeah.
It would sustain, wouldn't it? Mm-hmm. Isn't that amazing? But boy, the Big 12. I don't know if does the Pac-12 benefit from merging with the Big 12? Does that do much for the Pac-12?
I mean, unless they just want the Texas area for ratings or whatever.
I don't know. It looks bad. I tell you, there's stuff's going to happen, but it doesn't look like there's a lot of option for the Big 12. I think the Big 12 and the AAC might make a lot more sense merging up, and then you would get Houston if they come, Memphis and places like that. I look at it, and it's funny too, it's so ironic. We've all downplayed the Pac-12 for so many recent years. But I look at the Pac-12, if they melded into the, 8 left over in the Big 12 now, if you take Oklahoma and Texas, I don't think that does much for the Pac-12. I really don't. I don't know what they're going to do. But it is a mess. Shane, 19 days. 19 days. Till we'll start playing some football. I'm out of here. Anything else we want to get to? It's good stories. Thank you for contributing with some stories about Coach Bowden, and we appreciate everybody watching. Boy, if you missed the first 5 minutes of the show, go back and watch on archives. Coach Spurrier told a great story about speaking with Coach Bowden not that long ago by phone. It kind of caught me by surprise. I think it will you as well. That'll wrap it up for Coach Spurrier and Shane Matthews, and of course our producer, Evan Miller. I'm Terry Norvell. We'll do it again Friday, 11 a.m., College Sports Today.